lot of other scientific tools in place, and so we need the people. And so that's what this is all about. It's about you all and sharing your story. And so with that, I'm going to let Caitlin take it away, and then just a quick brief introduction to Inan, Anna, and I don't see Juana on here yet. These are our community Rare X Sherpas. I just made that title up. In addition to our board members. So they've taken the opportunity to actually enroll, and so have, firsthand experience on the platform and how it's working already. And so we'll be using them to help with participation across the community. All right. Thank you, Caitlin.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm going to briefly go through what RareX is and then walk you through the process of setting up your account and kind of how the dashboard and all the survey branching logic works. And then at the end, we'll have lots of time for questions. But in the meantime, if anything comes up, feel free to drop any questions in the chat. Great. Can everyone see my screen? Awesome. Well, welcome to the MED13L data collection program launch. So what is RareX? RareX is a program of global genes that was created to accelerate rare disease research and treatments by removing those barriers for data collection as well as the sharing of data. Data has been collected throughout the years, but it's kind of been held in silos where minimal researchers are able to access it, as well as patients able to access their data. So this is really what RareX is here for, is one, to make easy access for you as patients and caregivers to input your data, but also to have researchers being able to access it. So RareX is a platform to collect, connect, and share data, and it is not a replacement for any current research or clinician-sponsored patient registry. So why did the leaders at MED13L Foundation choose to go with RareX? So RareX is a global data collection platform. All of the data that is being collected is 100% patient-owned and managed. So you, as the caregivers and the patients, own your data. The MED13L Foundation does not own your data. RareX does not own it. RareX is simply just providing you with the platform to input your data. There is no cost for you as patients, and there is no cost for your organization, and there's no cost for researchers. All of the data that is being collected on RareX is in a structured and standardized format. So we have working groups that contain lots of key people within the research space that make sure all of the surveys that we have on our platform are in that structured and standardized format, so it's easy for researchers to use and access the data. We handle all of the governance. So RareX has an IRB that your foundation is covered under. So we handle all of the governance and the compliance. And really, we try to streamline researcher access to the data. So all of the data that is being collected is 100% de-identified data, and that data is made available to researchers on that federated data access platform. So what is the benefit for you, patients, caregivers, and families? So RareX is collecting data on all systems of the body. So all of the surveys you will be filling out are all symptom-based surveys. This allows for a better understanding overall of the disease and also enables cross-disease research, cross-symptom research, and is really a great way for researchers, especially if you're a smaller disease community, to get more eyes on your data if they're doing cross-disease and/or cross-symptom research. Summary data will be returned to your community, so you can compare your symptoms amongst the others within your community, and also you can see what the rest of the community is reporting. You have the ability to update and change any symptoms at any time. So this is not a one and done data collection program. We highly encourage you, if a new symptom comes up and or a symptom, becomes more prevalent or there's any changes, please go in and update all of your surveys. They will automatically push out additional surveys as they become available, and they will also push out notifications for you to retake certain surveys on an annual basis. Really, the goal is to reach more researchers worldwide through this data collection program. Us being global, we do have compliance in other countries, and we have a whole data and compliance team that is making sure that the data that is being collected, if it is from a new country, that we are working on the compliance for that. And really, you have the ability to manage who is going to use your data. So, since this is patient-owned and managed data, we will be going through where you can select who can really see your data through the data sharing preference survey. So this just quickly outlines your patient/caregiver journey into the data collection platform. So you come in through your patient community, so the MED13L Foundation. There has been a community page that is specific for your disease community. So this will be kind of the landing page that you'll always want to go to, whether you're creating your account or logging back in. Once you log in, you will enroll in the data collection platform. You will then create your account, simple, just, email, password, all of that. You'll go through the Matrix terms of use, and Matrix is the technology platform that we host the data collection program on. You'll then do the patient consent and data sharing preference survey. You will take the first survey, that is the head to toe survey, and that brings you to your dashboard. That will bring you to your dashboard where the additional surveys become available. So what do you need to get started? You'll need an email address and to create a password. Here's a list of our approved browsers. So we highly encourage using Google Chrome, Apple Safari, or Microsoft Edge. A lot of the international browsers, typically, sometimes are Internet Explorer or Mozilla. Those aren't the best user experience, but they do work. And if you are having any issues with those browsers, just let our team know, and we'll try to help you navigate that. And what you don't need to get started is a lot of time, and you do not have to finish this at once. So if you're in the middle of a survey, you are able to save and come back at any time. As caregivers, we know your time is very precious. So we want to make it as easy and as accessible for you to update and complete surveys whenever you have free time. So here's a quick look at your community page. So when it is your first time coming in to create your account, you will use the red button on the left, the Get Started. That will prompt you to start creating your account. Once you have your account, you will be able to come back into the login at any time and just simply log back in. I believe this community page is linked on your foundation's website, so you are able to access it at any time. Great. So once you click that Get Started button, it will prompt you to the first time login page. So this is where you'll be really creating your account. So if you're coming in as a caregiver, you'll want to fill out and create the account as the caregiver. So you'll want to put first name, last name, email, and then you want to specify you're creating this account if you are 18 years or older, and acknowledge if you are located in the United States or not. You are able to fill out and create your account if you are not in the United States. This is just simply for us on the back end to know how many accounts are created outside of the United States. You will then be able to check all that apply. So if you are a patient participant, you can select the patient option. If you are a caregiver, you can select that. You can be both. You can be both a caregiver and a patient, but just know you'll want to log in as a caregiver first. Once you fill out that form, you will receive an account creation email. So this typically takes about 5 minutes to show up in your inbox. This will prompt you to create your password. If you don't receive this email within a few minutes, check your junk or your spam folder, because sometimes different emails have different security settings. And if you don't ever receive this email, you can reach out to the RareX team and we can push this email back out to you. Any and all emails that will be coming from the data collection program will be coming from the RareX email. So once you click that create a password, it will prompt you to do some just simple multi-factor privacy email verification. So you'll create your password, you'll get a verification code, and then you'll be able to change your password. You will only have to do this the one time that you create your account. This is just for privacy and security. So this step will only have to happen the first time you create your account. Once you've created your password, it will prompt you back to the just general login page. So once you've created your account and you are just simply going back in at another time to fill out additional surveys, this is the same page that you'll log in on. So you'll sign in with that email address that you created your account with, and then the password you created. At any time, if you forget your password, you can reset it. And then linked down below is the privacy policy for Global Genes Rare X. So it just talks about how we take privacy and security very seriously and the different protocols that we as an organization have in place. Down here on the right, you will see the matrix terms of use. You can view these at any time and they will always be linked on the login page. So once you log in, it will prompt you to go through the terms of use for Matrix. Matrix, like I had mentioned, is the technology platform that we host the data collection program on. So this just is outlining how the data is being collected and being stored on the technology platform. So once you read through, you are able to accept and move on. That will bring you to the informed consent. And this is just a reminder that if you enrolled as a caregiver, you will be filling out the informed consent as the caregiver first. You will then fill it out for the patient once you add your patient. But if you filled it out and created your account as a caregiver, this informed consent is for the caregiver. So this goes through 8 pages of detailed Q&A, ensuring you understand the research study of the data collection program that you are participating in. So if you are interested in expanding any of the answers to a lot of the questions, just select the Learn More button, and it will go a little bit more in depth into the answers. Part of the informed consent is consenting to why you are participating in this study. So, and remember, if you created this account as a caregiver, this part you are filling out as a caregiver. You will fill this out for a patient down the road. So you can select all that apply. So you could, have stated you have a rare disease or that you're a parent or caregiver. You've legally authorized representative, a person who might have a rare disease. So you can select all that apply here. Down below is 2 different options if you'd like to be contacted for any follow-up research study that might come about from this data that's being collected. And just a reminder that since this is de-identified data, no researcher will ever reach out to you as the caregiver and or the patient directly. It will always come through RareX and or your patient organization. So if you'd like to be contacted for any follow-up research, you can select yes, and you can also select no. These can be updated at any time. So if you're just not sure as of now, select whatever you're comfortable with and just know you can update it at any time. Once you've filled out, why you're taking part in this research study and indicated if you'd like to be contacted, you will be signing the informed consent as the caregiver. If you enrolled as the caregiver, all of the information when you're completing your legal name and signing it will be as the caregiver. Once you filled out the informed consent, it will take you to the general information and demographics. So this section will be gathering just basic information and demographics as the caregiver. So it will ask things like your name, your address, gender, sex, household income, if you have insurance. All of that demographic information is of interest to researchers. And just remember, this is de-identified, so it will be seen in more of like an aggregate data space versus, you as the individual patient. Now that you've gotten through the general information and demographic section, this will be your opportunity to add your patient. So you'll be brought to a dashboard where up in the left-hand corner, you will see Add Patient. This you will click and you will start going through those same exact steps that you went through as a caregiver. You can add as many patients as you would like. And just know for every patient you add, you will go back through all of those steps. So how to know if you are in a caregiver dashboard and or a patient dashboard, always look in the left-hand corner. So you can see here that Marilyn is the caregiver and You are viewing Macy. Macy is the patient. So whatever you're filling out, you just want to double check that who you're viewing matches up with the answers that you are putting in the informed consent and or for any of the surveys you are completing. So like I mentioned, when you add a patient, you will go back through those same steps of the informed consent, the data sharing preferences, the general information, and just make sure when you're filling out the informed consent that you are filling it out, for the patient. In the general information and demographics for a patient, there is one different question that is different from a caregiver, and that is right here, where you can select the rare disease. So your disease is listed in the dropdown, and you can select your disease, and that is what will connect your data back to the overall community's data. If you have more than one disease or disorder, you have the ability to select all that apply, and there is another option for you to free text in if there is anything that is not listed in the dropdown. Something that is different for the patient versus the caregiver that will automatically, come out after you fill out your general information and demographics is this data sharing preference agreement. So this is really where you as the caregiver and the patient own who is, managing and accessing your data. So if you would like your data shared for general research, shared most widely, you will want to select general research. You do have the ability to place some restrictions. So if you would like it for health, medical, or biomedical research, you can select that option. And you can also put limitations. So if you would like the research solely for non-commercial purposes or research that has been approved by an institutional review board, an IRB, you can select those options there. All of this can be updated at any time. So, if you're going in and creating your account and you're just not sure, select whatever you're comfortable with. And just know that, down the road, if you would like to share it more broadly or have more restrictions, you can update it at any time. In the data sharing preference agreement, it will ask if the patient has any biological samples that have been given for research purposes. If you select yes, it will prompt you to put in where they've been collected. And if you are interested in collecting biological samples, once this becomes available through RareX, you can select yes, and you will be contacted once that is available. So in the data sharing preference, there is a section for you as the caregiver and patient to consent to sharing your contact information with your community. So your contact information will not be connected to your data in any way. So this contact information will just come in a list that is first name, last name, and email. And this is really to be used by your community for support and advocacy reasons. So if there is an upcoming conference or there's a new support group that's being formed, this is really a way for them to know kind of who's in their community and be able to reach out about that. Your leaders have gone through data and ethics training to get access to this data. And so, one of the big things in that data and ethics training is the, identifying patients. So this will just simply be in a list and it will not be connected to your data. If you would like your contact information shared, you can select yes, or you can select no, and just know that this can be updated at any point. Your leaders will also get access to a data dashboard where they can see just a quick overview of some of the demographics for your community. So, where you're all located, who's enrolled, the number of participants, and the last time you've been logged in to fill out surveys. If you would like your data to be included, once again, there will be no contact information. And since it will say, where you're geographically located, they cannot re-identify you. So if you would like your information shared on the data dashboard, you can select yes. Just know if you select no and you see data coming out of that and you would like to be included in that, you can come back and update this at any time. Once you get through the data sharing preference agreement, there is an automatic workflow that will prompt you to upload your genetic test report. So at this time, if you select this box here that says, I do not have a genetic test document available to upload, just know that you still can upload it. So if you just don't have it available while you're going through this section of the workflow, that's okay. You can upload it at a later time. But this is a great spot that if you do have it available to upload it, because we do have a team of genetic counselors that can go in and curate your genetic reports and tie that back to your data. So once you've gone through all of the mandatory workflow of the informed consent, the general information, and the data sharing preferences, and you've added all of your patients that you would like to add into your dashboard, the first survey, and honestly the most important survey to get an overall understanding of the symptoms reported for your disease community, is this head-to-toe survey. So if you have time to create the account and fill out one survey, I highly recommend it being the head-to-toe survey. So the head-to-toe survey will ask questions about symptoms from your head to your toe. And for every yes or unsure answer for that specific symptom, will then prompt additional surveys around that specific symptom that go more in depth. Over on the right here, you will see that there is an estimated time to complete, as well as the number of questions. These time to complete are very, very conservative, and just know if you are in the middle of the survey, you can stop and save at any time. So here's an example of some of the questions that are in the head to toe. So if you've had issues with eyes and or vision, if you select yes or unsure, you will then get an additional survey. If you select no, you will not get an additional survey specific to that symptom. Up in the right-hand corner here, there is the red X, so that will save your work at any time. So if you're halfway through a survey and you need to leave and come back, just hit that red X and it will save your work. In the head-to-toe survey, it will ask about the genetic testing. So if you have already uploaded your report, you will just be able to select, yes, I have genetic testing. What was the reason for the testing? And then if you have a genetic report, you can select yes here and just know that it has already been uploaded. If you didn't have your test readily available when you had the automatic workflow to upload it, just know you can come back at any time and upload it here. So when you're on the dashboard, over on the left-hand side, you will see a document section. You will click on that, and then you will click upload. You'll be able to upload a JPEG, PDF, any format that you have it in. If it is multiple pages, try to upload all of the pages. Don't just upload the first page. And then you'll want to tag it as a genetic test. Click save. It might take a minute or two to fully upload, but once it is, you will be able to save and view it listed here. So you can see that there's a genetic report, you can see the date that it was added, and you can download it at any time. A lot of the patients that are enrolled in the data collection program use this as a great place to just kind of save and, host their genetic report, just knowing that it's connected back to the data, but also that you can access it at any time. At this time, RareX is only able to curate genetic reports, but if you do have other medical records, physician notes, clinic notes, you can upload them and they will just sit within your account. And one day when RareX is able to curate them, they will already be on your account. So once you filled out the head to toe, you have your genetic report uploaded. These are just, a very broad list of some of the types of surveys that could be on your dashboard based off of how you answered that head to toe. So for example, there, are behavior surveys, bone and cartilage, brain and nervous system, and these will go more in depth into those symptoms you reported. So for example, what specific eye and vision issues has the participant had? So eye movement issues. Do you see the symptom, the age the symptom first appeared, and the age of diagnosis? So this is a great place that if any of your symptoms change after you filled out this survey, you will want to go back and retake this survey because RareX is able to collect longitudinal data and researchers will be able to access that longitudinal data. At the bottom of all of the level 2 surveys that go more in depth into the specific symptoms, there is a please describe section. So if there is a symptom that has not been asked, or there is not a specific question talking about that, please include any and all information in this please describe. The only information we ask that you do not put in the please describe is any identifying information. So try not to use the participant or the patient's name and or their gender, because all of that can be used to re-identify, but RareX will go in and clean this data before it is uploaded for researchers. It just makes it easier if that, is not already there, so we don't need to go in and clean it. So once you've gone in and completed some surveys, you will see them under your completed tab in the dashboard. So any new and in progress will show up in new and in progress. And all of your completed will be here. You can view all of your surveys at any time that you have taken. You can also retake them. And just know that when you retake it, it will not replace your previous survey you have taken. So for example, here, the health and development survey has been taken, January of 23, and then they retook it in August of 23, and you can see both instances. You can also download and send these to yourself at any time. So if you click the email button here, it will email you a PDF of the survey you took with your answers. And if you have any questions or any technical issues along the way, RareX does have a support line that we are able to help answer any and all questions and take in any feedback. So if you're going through any of the surveys and you think some of the wording might be kind of funky, or it doesn't make sense why you have that survey on your dashboard if you selected no, to having that symptom, please let our team know and we can kind of troubleshoot on the back end and or walk you through why potentially that survey is on your dashboard due to the branching logic. So I will put this email in the chat and your organization has this email as well and is able to help, triage some of the questions and also send it over to RareX. But I'll stop sharing and we can start answering any questions that anyone might have. Okay, I see in the chat, what does de-identified data mean? So de-identified means that you're identifying, information such as name, age, gender, anything that could identify who you are as an individual is removed from the data that is given to your community as well as to your researchers.
And Caitlin, I just want to comment one thing on and when you start and you're entering in as a caregiver, so most of this community will be identified as caregivers. So when you're first signing up, it's really important to click the caregiver and then making sure that that first enrollments, those first enrollment screens are for you. So your name, your information, and to not enter anything about your child until you get to that screen where you can add a patient. Because otherwise we essentially have to reset the whole thing.
Yes, and our team, if that does happen, and it honestly
Yes,
happens a lot, we are
it
able
does.
to quickly help you switch it, but it is important to note when you are creating that account, if you are the caregiver, make it as the caregiver, and you will add the patient and go back through that same workflow of the informed consent and everything afterwards.
And then I just wanted to also reiterate in terms of training and IRB protection. So myself and Katie Boychuk, whose face here is on the screen on the board. So she just completed her city training, which is privacy training. And then I have done privacy training for most of my career. So I'm very familiar with protection and data and privacy rights. So it really means that we do our best to keep all of your information secure as much as possible.
Yep, and RareX does take, data security,
Yep.
privacy, and ethics of the utmost importance. And so, since your two leaders have been able to complete that training, they will get access to the data dashboard as well as a shared folder where on a monthly and quarterly basis, data will be put in there, and they're able to share that back with your community.
Caitlin, did you go over, there's the glossary piece, I might have missed that. So that is one element
Oh,
of this.
yep.
I don't know if
Let
you have
me,
that screen.
yeah, let me go back to
Okay.
that slide where,
So one of the things with this, with RareX, that Caitlin talked about is these are all validated surveys. So especially like head to toe comes directly from ClinGen, which is associated with the ClinVar, which is houses all of the variants for genes. And so sometimes there's information, right, about body systems that you might not understand if you're, especially if you're not in the healthcare world. So that glossary can kind of help you
yep.
search or to understand, some of the words that might be used to describe a particular symptom. So please take advantage of that as much as possible. They're not everything is in there, but it does help.
Yep, and we're constantly adding new stuff to the glossary as well. So if there is something that you don't see in the glossary, please send that to the support email, and we will try to get that added if we are able to. So you should see the glossary on pretty much most of the level 2 surveys that go into each specific symptom. And please, if you ever have a question of how or why something is worded the way it is, please let us know, because there are some things that we are able to go and fix and make easier to understand and make more accessible. And there are other things, and our team will be able to let you know if that is something that can't be changed just because it is, a validated and or licensed measure. We have, limited ability to change some of the wording.
Caitlin, I have a question and
Yeah.
a curiosity. Yeah, could you please explain a little better or in more details, I would say, what is the difference between general research and health, medical, biomedical research in the informed consent, please? Just to
Yep.
ensure that our community pick what is the best option for us.
Yep. So general research will give you the option to have your data in front of pretty much anyone that is able to come in and access the Federated Data Access Platform. So there is an application process that someone has to go through to get access to that data. And RareX has a committee that reviews every application to make sure that, one, the researcher is meeting the requirements for that, and also kind of what the intentions are with the data. So if you would like, and anyone can come in and access the data if they meet those requirements. So that doesn't have to just be, a researcher. It can be a clinician. It can be a citizen scientist. So, just someone that doesn't even have a science background, but has, an approved study and or has the capability to handle the data in an ethical and in compliant way. So general research really makes it so the broadest amount of people that are coming in to access the data can do so. Health, medical, and biomedical is specifically if you just want, a clinician and or a researcher that's coming in for that specific reason for health, medical, biomedical versus more of a demographics. So that will kind of tell you, and there is an explanation to you under each option and it goes into a little bit more detail as to why and who would be the person that would be accessing that data.
Okay, thank you.
Any
Caitlin,
other?
there
Oh,
was a
yep.
question in the chat about the surveys. I think I answered it the best that I can, but if you want to just add to anything about the results of the surveys and impacts that they've made, will the community be able to see those? And so I know that Katie and I will be able to access the sort of aggregate or combined data in graphical forms. And also we can request that as part of a data use agreement and submission if there's specific questions. But is there anything else that I'm missing there?
I mean, you covered it. I will just say that it's standard for RareX to push out the results specifically for that head to toe survey. That gives, a broad overview of the symptoms reported. So on a monthly basis, your community will be getting, those results to that specific survey. And just like Rachel mentioned, they do have the ability to request additional data. So if there's a specific survey that your community identifies as, of high importance, on a monthly or even weekly basis, your community can request to see the data from that specific survey. And our team, we have a full data team that is able to visualize it however your community is wanting, and that will be able to be shared back with you.
So essentially, so the head to toe, when you first go in to fill that out, what we will get back is essentially, it will say, right, if we have 50 people who fill out the survey, then it'll kind of break down each of those categories as part of the head to toe into how many individuals have specific symptoms in those categories. So it can be really powerful information, especially when we don't know what we don't know right now. So what's reported in the literature for individuals impacted by MED13L, there's about 100 individuals, and we know that there's somewhere between 300 and 400 in the world engaged within our sort of social media and other groups internationally. So it can provide some really powerful insights to what's really happening in the community that wasn't captured by the published literature, and really can help us start talking about what matters to you all, and how we start working on validated outcome measures, which are extraordinarily helpful for clinical trials and measuring the effects of medicines and therapeutics, and what matters to you. So that's what the power of this platform can do. And personally, I mean, I am biased because I've used it for over a year with my own nonprofit, they make it very easy to do that. Not illegally easy, just easy to see the information and to really understand it, and to access it as a foundation, which is so important for you all.
You all are the experts of your disease community.
Mhm.
I mean, the clinicians and researchers only know what they know. And that's why this data collection is so powerful, because it's giving you a voice to express and fully document what you all are experiencing. And this can be used for support and advocacy. Like, we've had some participants that have taken, the results of these surveys, specifically the overview of the symptoms, where their child's clinician was like, I don't think this specific symptom is associated to this disease. And they were able to bring in these results of this, data collection and say, 85% of the community is also reporting this symptom as part of the disease. And it just helps you advocate, for your patient and for yourself as well. So we try to make this the data as transparent as we can, because it's important for researchers, but it's also important for you all as well.
I think of it as
Wait.
all the stuff that you talk about in the social media and in chats that you have questions about. Now it's in a central location and it's collated together, and we can really start thinking about how much this really impacts the broader community. So I think I heard Anna's voice there.
Oh, I think it was me, sorry.
Oh.
It's okay. Could you just repeat you had some numbers, like total numbers of, patients with MED13L, and then how many globally, and can you just repeat those numbers?
Yeah. So we think there's probably between 300 and 400 right now that we've kind of cataloged between all of the social media platforms and international groups that we've been in contact with. There's, obviously probably thousands more, right, that either aren't diagnosed or, aren't engaged with one of the foundations around the world, or one of the groups around the world. And so, right, this is, also part of it, being able to capture data, publish data, present it at meetings, helps draw in a broader community, right? It helps bring connections across the globe, which is
Right.
another reason why this is so powerful, is because it is international.
Thank you.
Yep.
Caitlin, thank you for sharing all the information with us. I actually had a chance to go and fill out all the surveys last week, and I found them very self-explanatory. I mean, I think that for everyone here, I mean, sometimes all the information sounds a little overwhelming, but once you get into it, it was pretty easy. A little time consuming, but pretty easy. I would even say that for me, and obviously it's on a case-by-case scenario, because each child has a different, number of syndromes and different complexity to each one. I mean, a different number of symptoms and different complexity to each one of them. But for me, I would even say that many of the estimated times associated with each questionnaire, for the most part, we actually overestimated. So some questionnaires that said, it will take, 25 minutes to fill out, I did in 5. Just because many of them are faster. So of course, I mean, it changes. Some things are more, but I'm just mentioning it because for some people it may seem daunting. You see, like, you have, 20 questionnaires ahead of you, and some of them are, like 15, 20, 25 minutes, but in reality, some of them can be filled out fairly quickly. And then, and like I said, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And I hope that with everyone here, now that we have this core group, we can all reach out to as many of the people that we're in touch with in the MED13L community who are not participating here today, and just try to encourage as many people to participate and try to get our numbers up. So, if we're hoping to have 100 people at some point, hopefully soon. And if each one of us just reaches out to a few more friends and gets more people to sign on, at least to do the head to toe and upload the genetic reports, I think we'll be in better shape. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I think
And it looks like, oh, go ahead, Caitlin.
I think someone has their hand up. Would love to answer any questions you have.
Is it Dagmar?
Yes, okay. Hello. We are Dagmar and Rudolf, and our daughter, she has MED13L. We live in Germany, and we have difficulties with the quick English. Means I cannot understand a lot. And the international connection is very difficult for us if we don't speak French and don't speak English very good. And therefore, I want to ask the explanation you before gave for the, was heißt Fragebogen? Okay. Is it possible to fill it out only online, or is it also possible to download and then we can, with a translator, do it in a slower time?
Yeah, that's a great question. Rachel, do you want to add anything before I answer?
Yes, I just want, right, I think I want to make sure I understand the question. She's asking about downloading this presentation, right, and then us translating that. Is that accurate, Dagmar? I just want to make sure I understood it.
Yes, you understand.
Okay, thank you.
We can translate by ourselves with a translator.
Yeah.
But we need it not only online.
Yep.
And then I will just quickly add, so RareX is getting ready to launch some translations for the actual platform. So English right now is the only language that is available online, but we will be adding Spanish, Portuguese, and French in the coming weeks. There is the ability that you can translate the overall data collection program through Google Translate. You just have to be able to consent in English. So we have many participants that have gone in and used Google Translate, just added on to the browser where they can just translate all of the surveys, and just know that it is Google Translate. So it, may not be 100% accurate, and it may not be, totally culturally appropriate, some of the way the questions are worded, but there is the ability to do that. And we are actively working on identifying what the next round of translations will be for the platform.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you, Dagmar, if you want to just outreach one of us, we can try to, work with you sort of on your specific questions or concerns in terms of understanding. I definitely know that Google Translate, especially with medical language, does not do a great job of translating across languages. But certainly if there's something that's confusing, please feel free to kind of outreach and we will give it our best shot.
Okay, thank you. We think it would be very interesting for you also because our daughter, she's already 33.
Really? Yes, I think for us, well, yes, for the community, we are not aware of a large population of older individuals with MED13L, so just a handful. So that is a huge question that the foundation has and the community has. So yes, your daughter's information is very, very valuable to help everybody understand, how she's lived her life.
That's good to know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Caitlin, I just wanted to make a comment. Obviously I'm a board member, but I'm also mom to two MED13L kids, and they're now 14 and 12. And I can tell you, I wish that we had this opportunity when they were younger, because managing all of their medical specialists and reports gets to be very challenging. So having all this information in one spot is like a game changer. Yes, it's going to take a lot of time to enter 14 years worth of medical history, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm really super excited for our families, especially for those that have younger children as well, because I think just managing all of that can be very overwhelming. So that's just kind of my perspective of it. Wish I had it when they were younger, but grateful I have it now, because just managing, all of that information is just very challenging. So I'm excited about this.
Great, thank you.
Oops. And then Shauna had another question. Shauna, thank you for asking so many questions. I love them. So her question is really about, how will we know if symptoms are solely related to MED13L, or if there's another genetic variant or comorbid condition that's contributing to them. I'll take a stab at it, and Caitlin, you can fill in the blanks. Essentially, we won't always truly understand what's from MED13L versus other things. Although the more people that report information and symptoms and data, then we can really start to identify trends and try to start putting, a broader applicability of what symptoms look like across the MED13L community together. You have to remember we're all unique, humans, and so it's really hard to pinpoint, what one symptom is attributed to a specific genetic variant or not. From a scientific standpoint, when you upload your genetic report, the team at RareX, when they say curate, what they're basically doing is they're pulling the information from that genetic report and putting it in a data platform that becomes more analyzable. So, they'll have the MED13L variant listed there. And then if there is a secondary genetic variant that's of interest or that could be contributing to the symptoms that, your child's displaying, that will also be listed there. Obviously, again, we won't know who that child is, but those variants will be listed together. That starts us from a data perspective and a scientific perspective and a research perspective, being able to look at what we could call a genotype phenotype. So looking at genetic information and symptom information and putting that information together and really starting to parse out core symptoms of MED13L versus something that might be very unique to an individual, or something that could be unique to a smaller population of MED13L that might have very similar variants or on a very similar location on the gene. So hope that's a really long-winded answer to your question, but hopefully that helps. And Caitlin, feel free to, if I missed anything in that incessant rambling, feel free to fill that in.
No, that was a great, I don't have anything else to add. That was a great, and I will say that if there are specific, sub variants that are coming out of those genetic reports, that is, something that we're able to report back to the community. It won't be, identifying who that participant is, but we will be able to let you know that, these 3 or 4 or 2 or even 1 genetic variants have been reported and, extracted from those genetic reports. So genetic test reports are very, very important, and it truly completes your data. So if you ever have any questions on how to upload, or even if you don't have access specifically to your genetic report, if you have other information, reach out to our team and we'll let you know if that's able to be curated. I think there's 2 questions. James, do you have a question?
You're muted.
You're on mute, yep.
James, your sound isn't working. Seems like you looks like you're unmuted, but your sound's not working.
Still can't hear.
Hear you.
We might,
You
if
want
you
to try to
have to type it in the chat, we can answer your question.
Yep. And then it looks like Juana, you have a question as well.
That's right. Yes. Should I can wait.
Yeah. You see if James, are you typing in the chat? I can't tell what he's doing.
Let the other girl go first, and then
have
James type it.
Yeah. Want to go ahead?
Cool. Hi, everyone. I had a question about, I know there's a bunch of different options when you're doing the consent aspect of signing up for AirX. So I seem to recall there was a checkbox where you had to think about if you wanted to share your information with the foundation or not. And so just wondering if someone can elaborate on kind of the pros and cons or the considerations we should keep in mind as we decide about, whether to check that box or not.
Yeah, I'm happy to elaborate a little bit on that. So I really think it's up to you, and this is really, up to your personal preference of if you would like your information, specifically contact information. We'll start with contact and then I'll talk about the dashboard. But that contact information has, in other disease communities has been used, specifically for support and advocacy if they're having a conference coming up or if they're having a meetup coming up, especially if there are individuals that have filled out the data collection program that they didn't already have, the contact information on. It's a great way to kind of build out your community and really know, that everyone is being included in any of the support and advocacy initiatives that the overall foundation is doing. So really the contact information, I think it's really up to you if there's pros and cons to it. Just know that we as RareX have put a lot of things in place to make sure that that is not being, re-identified back to your data. As far as the dashboard goes, this is, up to you as well. So if you would like, your data to be included in an overall aggregate picture of what, if who is participating in this program, then, you'd want to say yes, and just know that that data can be shared back out with the community. That dashboard does not include any of the information such as symptoms reported, or any of the more in-depth data that could be coming out of specific surveys. That's more just like general like demographics of geographically where you're located, the last time people have come back in and enrolled, in, you know, the number of participants. So there really is not a whole lot of data on that dashboard. It's more just kind of quickly for your organization to see an overall snapshot of kind of really the engagement of this data collection program, not specifically the outcomes of this data collection program, if that makes sense. And Rachel, I don't know if you want to add anything, because I know you're able to see the dashboard and all of that.
Yep. And so for me, and I can actually just speak from experience with my own nonprofit too, you know, when I see the dashboard and then I see something outlying, but I don't have their contact information, I have like contacted RareX just to make sure that that's valid information. And that's fine. That's your personal choice, whether or not you want us as the foundation to have, you know, your contact information, but it also means that I can't share like what's happening right in the foundation with you. And so directly, right? So if you're not engaged from that and you're not even just providing an email address, then, you know, now like when we have updates on, you know, on RareX that we're emailing out or part of our newsletters or, you know, meetups, or, you know, just little virtual roundtables that, you know, we're going to start hosting, that I don't have that information to include you, and that it's hidden behind the walls of privacy, which again, that's your prerogative to do that. It just limits our ability to keep you all up to date and to interact with the community on a broader scale. So my personal preference for me as a caretaker is to be, you know, as involved as possible and understand as much as possible what's going on, so you can take advantage of what's happening.
Makes sense. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm leaning the same way. You know, since we're going through the effort, might as well, you know, be connected on all fronts. So yeah.
And just know it can be updated at any point. So right now, if you're going in your and creating your account and you're just, you know, not sure or not comfortable yet, you know, sharing your information or having your data included on the dashboard, and you select no, just know at any point you are able to go and update it. Just like if you go and say yes now, and you change it to no, we will go in. So if you say yes right now and your information's on the contact and you update it to no, it will be removed.
Cool. Thank you.
Great questions.
So I have just a short question, because we only have the genetic report in a German language. Is it also possible to upload it in German, or do you need it in English? Or
Yeah, great question. So we do have a team of genetic counselors that is able to curate in other languages. So right now, the other languages are German, Italian, French, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. So German can be uploaded, and just know if there is a language that I didn't mention that you have, still upload it, because we're actively adding, you know, genetic counselors to our team that is able to curate. So yes, you can upload.
Yeah. So, and I'll just add to that, Catherine, too, is that really, you know, Caitlin kind of mentioned this, that really RareX also can serve as a central hub for you guys as caregivers to kind of collate the medical journey of your child. And so that folder there where you can upload those PDFs, like it really can house everything in like one location. It doesn't mean that anybody has access to it. It just means that you essentially get to house it there. So, you know, like, you know, even like sometimes, you know, folks have EEGs and things like that, like that are in PDF form. Again, right now, RareX is not curating that stuff, but it provides a safe place and a protected place where all of that medical information can be housed. Caitlin, can you repeat the genetic report languages one more time, because they've expanded since the last time I heard?
Yep. So German, Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and English.
Okay, thank you. And this is like a really cool and awesome service, because a lot of other platforms aren't doing this. So again, it provides a lot broader access to being included into a data set, for sure.
And the genetic report curation information is something that is shared back with your leaders. So for example, if there's 30 reports uploaded for your community and let's say only 20 were able to be curated, we will share back as to why those other reports weren't able to be curated, whether, you know, it was not enough information was submitted. Honestly, the biggest thing, an issue that comes in is it's just the first page of the report. It's not the entire report. So upload the entire report. Don't just do the first page because we need all the information. And then also some of the other issues is if it's, you know, in another language that we don't currently, you know, offer to be curated, that is okay. Still upload it because we're constantly, like Rachel knows, we've added, you know, a ton of genetic counselors since her group came on. So it's, you know, just upload it and we will communicate back as to whether it's been curated and the reason if it like wasn't able to be curated.
I know we're a little bit over. I just, did anybody else have any questions? James, did you ever get your sound working there? I'm gonna go with no. No, it's still not working. James, I'm happy to, if you want to shoot me an email or shoot an info at med13l.org, we will be happy to answer your question too. Let's see, here I'm adding this into, can someone add that in the chat? Just to close, so Inan, Wana, and Anna are your community Rare X Sherpas, along with the board members here. We are we're setting a very aggressive goal to get about 100 families by the end of the year. So Caitlin's laughing, but
no, that is a great goal. I think, you know.
So like Enon mentioned, like when you fill this out, the very most important thing for you to do is head to toe. Head to toe gives us a ton of insight of where to go next. And so when you first come in and register, it will be overwhelming. I'm not going to lie. Like you will see a bunch of surveys. Don't close out. Just spend, some time to, oh man, there's some nasty feedback. Is that me? Oh, it's James, but it's James's feedback, I think. So I think that the most important thing is just spending that first sort of 20 minutes doing your head to toe as much as you can. If you have older kids, it's obviously going to take longer, but that's, so pace yourself, save your data, come back when you have time. It's whatever works for you, but doing that first survey will give the community a lot of insight, and then it really can help us as a foundation prioritize, what the most important surveys are after that, to really focus energy on and to understand. So please do not hesitate to outreach any of us. Katie put the info at med13l.org in the chat. One of us will outreach you and we will continue to stay in contact and provide a lot of updates as we get started. So anything else?
I will share the slide deck from today with you all, so you're able to send it around, post it, just so everyone has, the step-by-steps of how to create the account and how to enroll. And just, let your community know if you have questions, and let us at RareX, we're all here to help support you throughout this entire journey. So, and thank you all so much for joining today on a Saturday. It's nice to see so many faces.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.